The usual housekeeping is that the webinar is automatically captioned and you can use the CC button in Zoom. It's interesting that we talk about captions because that is what we're going to talk about today. The webinar is recorded and will be published on our YouTube channel, and everyone that has registered in advance to this series of Friday webinars, they will get a thank you email with the link to the webinar and then, or to the recording, and there you will also find the smart guide that is connected to this webinar. And all the microphones, except mine, funnily enough, is muted to avoid background noise. And we will start with a short presentation, and then we open up for Q&A. And please do use the Q&A function if you want to pose questions to me, because I'm speaking today. You are free to use the chat for anything else, and my colleague Stefan is here to support you with any technical issues. But I cannot guarantee that I will see questions in the chat, so please do use the Q&A function. And we have 30 minutes, and we pride ourselves with stopping in time. So today we will talk about captions, subtitles, and/or transcript. My name is Susanna Lorin. I'm the Managing Director and Chair of the Funka Foundation. We are a small research institution based out of Sweden. I'm also the G3ICT and IAAP representative to the EU and one of the co-founders of IAAP. And I'm currently also the chair of the ETSI and Senelec e-accessibility joint technical body, which is the place where we are trying to make sure that we have good and stable standards for accessibility in the EU. And we are currently working on a mandate from the European Commission to develop and update standards to support the European Accessibility Act. So that's me. Do we talk about captions or subtitles? That is a recurring question, and I will most probably use the word captions today, even though in the standards we have decided that in the European standards we will call it subtitles because that is more correct. However, I'm too old to learn new words. And I have a problem with the word subtitles because, to me at least, with my Pidgin English, I find the subtitles usually meaning that it's a translation of the spoken into another language. And I personally use captions for when we talk about kind of accessibility captions. But people that are more clever than me say that that is not the only way you can use this, and they are really interchangeable, and it really has to do with where in the world you are based, and American English and US English and so on. So there's much to do about this. In the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, captions is the word used. So in the European standards, we will say subtitles and then either parenthesis or describe that the word captions can also be used, and it's possible to interchange. And when we refer to WCAG requirements, we don't rewrite that, so we will also call it captions. So there is a little bit of a mixed feelings about what is the best to use and what is not, but there is also another confusing thing, and that is that the word captions can also be used at what you see under an image that is describing what is in the image, not the alternative text, but what is visually written under something visual to kind of capture what is in the image. So whatever word you use, it seems to be somebody will get confused. I'm sorry about that, but that is how it is today. So just to make sure that whatever I say, I mean something that some people call captions and some subtitles, but this has nothing to do with translation today. So when I talk about captions or subtitles for accessibility, it's about the spoken content, but it's also about adding audio information. So I'm here showing a photo of a very nice train station. And if we imagining something happening in a video where something happens in a train station, like for example, a train comes in or a train comes honking or whatever trains do, boo-boo, makes a signal of an old train, or that we have an announcement saying that, oh, soon the train for somewhere is leaving, and that is part of the whole story of what is happening in that video, then we need to also capture that in the captions or subtitles so that a person who doesn't hear that will also get that audio information. However, you can't possibly write down every audio that is happening, everything, all the background noise and so on. That's not relevant. So it's a skill to know exactly what audio information you should have in the caption. But just think about if it's meaningful, if it's important to understand what is happening in the video, then that needs to be captioned as well. Another difference between whatever we call these captions for accessibility towards kind of the usual subtitles that you see on TV, for example, or in a film, is that we also want to do, when we talk about captions for accessibility, to tell who is actually speaking, so that it's not only just a long list of words or a lot of sentences, but also Susanna colon and then whatever stupid thing I've been just saying, and then Stefan colon is saying something else. So that is also what is distinguishing when we talk about captions in the accessibility world with other types of subtitles and captions. And if we talk about the target audience, there are actually many audiences for this. But if we start with the kind of the disability focus, if I can say that, we have several subgroups in this target audience. So if you are born deaf, then usually the sign language is your maternal language. And then it depends a little bit where in the world you are and how strong the sign language community is and so on, and how much that is taught in school and what possibilities there are. But a person that is born completely deaf, for that person, the spoken language is actually a second language. It's like a foreign language. And that means that it's not typically very easy to read that language, even if the person, of course, can read, but think of it as a foreign language. So I have many born deaf friends where there's a lot of misunderstanding when we communicate in writing. There are, of course, big differences. Some people who are born deaf learn very well to read and learn the kind of spoken language, even if they don't hear it, they learn it very well and they can are perfectly fine with captions. But in general, we cannot expect people that have sign language as their primary language to just say, okay, it's captions, so it's fine. There are people who really need sign language, and then captions, they may support, they may be a secondary thing, but for some people, it doesn't help at all. For people with an acquired deafness, of course, they have been speaking from the beginning and they can read, and that the caption will really help and quite a lot. So even if you learn sign language, that would be your second language, and then the caption would be perfect for the target audience that has an acquired deafness. We have a group of people who are deaf-blind, and usually in that concept, we mean also people who are not completely blind and not completely deaf, but the combination of these two makes it very, very hard to communicate. And for these people, if you are visually impaired enough so that you cannot read the captions, then of course they won't help either. So some of the people in the group of deaf-blind will be helped by captions, but not all. But there's a very, very big group that are hard of hearing, who are really dependent on captions. And according to the European Statistics Bureau and also the World Health Organization, World Health Organization, I'm trying to say, and so on, we calculate with around 15% of the population are hard of hearing in a way so that it kind of affects their social life or work and so on. So a lot of people. If we are now 363, I don't think everyone is here, but that would mean 45%, if I can calculate correctly, would have less than whatever the standard normal hearing would be. So in any group you are, in any restaurant you are, in a team meeting with your colleagues, calculate that there are one or two people that hear less well than you do yourself, and please try to accommodate for these people because that is extremely important, and it's often forgotten for some reason. Some hard facts about being hard of hearing. There's research that around 50% of people who are hard of hearing and who would benefit from having hearing aids have hearing aids. Only half of them have hearing aids. That's astonishing. And this is in kind of the rich part of the world. And from this group who would benefit from hearing aids and who actually have hearing aids, around half of them, so 25% of the big group, actually use them. The rest of the hearing aids are in the cupboard. They're not used. There are different reasons for that. If we, for an instant, for a second, compare hard of hearing to visual impairments, then we can see that in every corner of the streets where we live, there's a hairdresser for sure, or a nail something, but there's also an optician. I mean, they are everywhere. And we are seeing, maybe if you're a young child and has glasses, maybe that is really an issue. But for most grown-up people, glasses or contact lenses, it's a very normal part of life. And glasses are even seen as fashion. It's something we buy. I have a really cool ones. And, I like my glasses, and I change them with fashion and so on. So that is absolutely not a stigma. But when it comes to hearing aids, if you look at advertisements for hearing aids, the primary key message and the selling point is that these hearing aids are invisible. And people with hearing aids, they try to have their hair in a way, or their glasses or something, so that they can cover their hearing aids so they're not seen. I think that is an interesting comparison to make, because hearing loss is still very much a stigma. And I'm sure many of you have parents or other elderly people around you who said, not really hearing what you're saying, but who never go to the doctor and make sure that they get their hearing aids. There is something with this that I don't know what it is, but it's still a stigma. That said, there are, of course, exceptions, and I'm just now showing an image of a really cool hearing aid where they have made the hearing aid also as part of a really cool, like an earring, or I don't know what you say when you have a big chunk of metal inside of the little flip on your ear. That makes it kind of a cool jewelry instead. But that is not the ordinary way that we see hearing aids. So there's something here. When we do convert audio into text, call it subtitles or captions, that's of course very good for people who are hard of hearing, but also many other people and situations benefit from this. So for example, in multilingual situations, or if somebody has a really strong dialect or a strong accent even, it can be very hard to understand or grasp what people say. Sometimes when we work with people in Ireland and they speak very, very fast, I have very difficult to follow what they say. And then captions can really help. Or if you learn a new language, then dialects or accents or just the way people speak can be really difficult. But when you see it, if you're a reading person, then having the language written down makes it easier. And you can copy and put it in the dictionary or something, and you can kind of learn from it. So it's really useful. Also, there's a lot of research on how many people, especially in social media, using videos with the audio off for different reasons. You can be in a very noisy environment, or you are in a very quiet environment in the library and you forgot your earphones, or there's really bad audio or a lot of noise around you for some reason, and you really need to have the captions as well as the audio on, and it really helps. So we see really the way captions are used it goes far beyond people with the hearing loss. Of course, there's also very boring meetings. There's a difficult to really have focus all the time. We are sitting with a lot of Teams meetings and Zoom meetings and so on. It's the same. We are looking into the video, the screen all the time. You start thinking about where you're supposed to have for dinner instead, and then you can go back and really repeat afterwards if you have the transcript. So that's very good. And you can, of course, also use the repetition if you have a memory loss, or if you just, you weren't at the meeting and you can repeat. So converting audio into text is super useful for really many situations and very many people. And there are also legal requirements, of course, that are actually increasing. So in the Web Accessibility Directive, live video doesn't have a requirement to have captions. So whatever is happening live is not relevant for people who are hard of hearing. How did that come? But of course, it's because of resources and so on. But pre-recorded video needs to be captioned. But really, if you read the law really in detail, it's actually good enough with a text alternative. So that is nothing we recommend, of course. But if you are only interested in the minimum requirements of the law, then you can get away with having a video that is not captioned and then having the same content, the same text as a text alternative somewhere else. And I think everyone understands that that is not the same user experience. But on the other hand, there may also be people who really benefit from the text. So if you can do both, that's fine. But really, the minimum requirement is just that there should be a text alternative. But for live, you don't have to bother. However, if you do publish a live recording within 2 weeks, it's considered pre-recorded, and then it needs to be captioned. With the European Accessibility Act, this has increased completely. There is no exemption for live videos. That is completely taken away. Subtitles are required, and for all the communication tools and videos and access to TV and digital TV and on all of those things, the features need to be in place to be able to provide for subtitling. So that is the requirement. And there's also requirements for real-time text and total conversation, which goes far beyond captions and is even more useful for many users, of course, in the electronic communications sector and also in emergency communication. So everything that has to do with captions and subtitles, the legal requirements are really increasing quite a lot with the European Accessibility Act. So that's good news. When it comes to auto captions or live captions, we get a lot of questions about that. And we are using auto captions in these kind of free webinars that we are doing, especially when we do them in English, because we really think they're good enough. When we are in smaller language areas, it becomes more tricky because it's not good enough. Then my brilliant colleague Stefan, he is doing the quality assurance afterwards. So when we do the recording, we have auto captions as a baseline, but then we fix the things that the auto captions didn't catch because the speaker is speaking too fast or too bad or is not saying things in a good way. Then we can do the quality assurance process afterwards. So it's not perfect, but it's considered, I think, for many people who are hard of hearing or need captions, is better than nothing. And then we can make the final cut, so to speak, or the post-production, making sure that it's even better when it's recorded. So when considering live or auto captions, I think it's really important to think about who is speaking. Is it a person who can do where the auto caption works? Or is it a person who has a speech impairment? Then auto captions will probably not work as well. So that is an important consideration. And also, what type of event or content is it? Is this something very important like health information? Then of course you should have live captions because it's really important. It's about life and death. And for us, if we have an event or we have a commercial thing or it's a big thing, conference, then of course we have live captions, but in the free things we have auto captions. What kind of language is spoken? So auto captions works much better in the large, where there is a lot of data in the language. And again, whether it's live or recorded, you can make it better in the recording afterwards. And we do see really continued improvements. So even the small languages that was more or less impossible to use auto captions a couple of years ago is now much better. And I think the more we use them, the more data there is from the machine learning to learn from, and that is going to increase also the quality of auto captions. So for me, my recommendation is always any Teams meeting you have or any meeting you have in your job or everywhere else, let people have captions if they want to, because you don't need them to raise their hand and say, hey, I would need this. I would really like to have captions. Just open it up, make sure that people have the opportunity to have captions. And if it is important, if you have many people listening or the content is really important or the person speaking is hard to caption for the machines, then by all means do invest in live captions whenever you can, when you have the budget for it. Absolutely do that, because it will always be better, or at least for now. So in general, whenever you have a meeting, you do the things that you usually do. You make sure you have an agenda, you welcome people, you send out things, and you make sure you have your coffee, and then you provide for captions. Make that part of your everyday meeting routine when you're online, or even when you're in a room, you can put on the PowerPoint can show captions that are also fine. So just make sure that you always provide for that. And when possible, use closed captions, because the captions can be distracting for people. So people with focus and concentration issues may think it's kind of in my face too much. So when you let the user decide the accessibility becomes much better. Therefore, we use closed captions and not open captions. If you have the possibility to allow time for post-production, then you can make sure that the captions become even better, no matter if the first batch was auto-captioned or live. Live captionists can also make mistakes, of course, or difficult names that are not obvious how they are spelled, and abbreviations and all of that. You can make that afterwards. And when doing captioning videos after something, or making sure that you do the synchronization afterwards, then at least from our point of view, we have tried a lot of different tools, and we have found that some of the licensed tools do save some time. There are free tools out there, but the live tools are actually better. And it's just a question of how much time do you want to use on this? How long do you want to sit and wait for the thing to be captioned? Or if you want to speed it up and have a little bit higher quality, then there are licensed tools that actually do help. And there's a big market, so many different things, and it's really a moving target, this. So both the auto caption in itself and the tools that you can buy or just use to caption things is really improving very quickly. So you need to make new assessments every now and then. At least that's what we have seen. So let's see if we have any questions today. Yes, we do have a couple. Sorry, I just need to open the right thing. So what tools are you using? So we can't really we can't really recommend specific tools. We do use HappyScribe. That doesn't mean that is the only one that is working well, but that is what we are currently thinking is one of the better ones, and we are captioning in several languages, where Swedish is one, and HappyScribe is really useful for that. What are there standards being developed on the accuracy of captions? So yes and no. In the European standards that are developed right now to support the European Accessibility Act, there are no quality. It's not like it needs to be X% accurate or so on. It's just talking about synchronization, and that it's supposed to be I can't remember the exact wording now, but it should be accurate or high quality or something like that. But we don't define exactly what that means. There is a standardization work, there may be more, but ITU is creating right now, developing a standard that will support more of the technical specifications on the quality assurance of captions. So that is being developed right now, I know, and there is also already existing standards that are supporting this, but kind of the connection to the legislation is not yet there. So I think this will change moving forward, but it's a good question, because of course the auto captions are some people are seeing that as a threat to live captions. I don't think it has to be. I think they have different situations or different positions, and they can be used in different ways. So and the third one is, yeah, we get several of those. So I think auto captions are really bad. Yeah. So yes, that is, I appreciate that. It can be very bad, and it's sometimes you feel, oh my God, I didn't say that. that does happen. But we have done quite a lot of research, and also other organizations have done research. And I really think if you ask the people who are hard of hearing, then most of them, maybe they wouldn't say it in a webinar like this, because they really want us to do the highest quality and so on. So politically, of course, they strive for perfection, and I agree on that. But if you ask the man in the street, with a Swedish hard of hearing organization did research when they were working with a Swedish broadcaster who were testing auto captions on their local news, because they are required to have live captions on their national news, but the local news used to be non-captioned at all. And when they started doing auto captions there, of course, there was a difference in quality, no doubt. But then they asked their community, and now I can't remember, I think it was 8,000 people, I may be wrong, but a lot of people, it's not a small test, this was a lot of people responded, And a vast majority, far beyond 70%, said, yes, please keep that. This is good. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. At least now I can watch the local news and I get some of it. They are not super happy with it because it's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we are irritated about captions not being perfect. So we need to move on to do a little bit of marketing on the smart guide. So Stefan will post the link to the smart guide. So also you will get this in the thank you email. So we made a smart guide both in Swedish and English to just remind yourself of what we learned today, and do share them. We get the question, can I share these? And of course you can. That's the idea with them. Print them, share them, do whatever you like with them, use them as, you know, your tablecloth or whatever. We don't care what you do, just make sure that they are used. I also want to market our self-paced training. So we do have a very fancy e-learning platform that we developed ourselves, so we're super happy about that. And I'm sharing a QR code here, and I think also Stefan is posting the link. So you can, if you want to see what we are doing, we are releasing more and more trainings on this platform. It's multimodal, so we use video, audio, illustrations, text, quizzes, and exercises, and so on. And you can even add live interaction with a trainer to the self-paced courses. And we are also developing role-based courses, and you can already sign up for the prep courses for the IWP certification. But you can also have a demo if you don't trust me. Then you're welcome to do a free demo, so you see a little bit of what we're doing. If you like the Friday webinars, I think you will like our trainings as well. And even more marketing next time on the 5th of December. This is a really cool content. This is my brilliant colleague, Sarah Kjellstrand, who is talking about cognitive accessibility in digital interfaces. This is an intermediate result from one of the really interesting research projects that we are doing right now. We have got insights from the actual users with cognitive disabilities, and we have very cool new things to share with you. So do not miss this webinar. It's the last one before Christmas, so see it as a Christmas gift. Free registration as always, and you will for sure learn a lot from Sarah. Also, please do sign up for our newsletter or follow us on LinkedIn. And I think that is what we had for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And don't forget to make something accessible before you close for the holidays, or a weekend at least. So have a very nice rest of your Friday, and thank you for listening to us. If you have any questions, just reach out either on LinkedIn or at info@funkafoundation.org. Bye-bye.